You studied at Aitchison College, which is one of the most competitive schools in the country. How did that environment shape you as a person and as a student?
So Aitchison is a very interesting place. It's a very diverse and a very complex place. Of course, I enjoyed my time. I'm blessed. It was a fantastic place to be.
What drove you to choose a particular set? And what subjects did you have?
But it was a mix of like 2 sciences and 2 humanities. If you're becoming a lawyer, I don't think you should study law. At least at the A-level stage. You should be really diversifying your skill sets, your interests. I think, honestly, what I would recommend, the best subject to take, O-levels, A-levels, both, English literature. I think literature is the thing that in a legal career will really go a long way for you. Read widely and read unexpectedly. Read the kind of books that other people are not reading or that you wouldn't expect yourself to be reading.
So Hassan, would you suggest that students wanting to pursue a career in law should first start studying locally and then move to applying abroad, or?
So the difference is a local LLB will be 5 years and an external LLB will be 3 years. That extra 2 years is a significant thing. So somebody who graduated 2 years before you will have an exponential edge over you graduating 2 years later. So the third option, now that I think of it, that students watching this might be considering if they're studying law, is of course America. There's no undergraduate concept of law in the US. So you will have to do a 4-year degree in something else. And then there's a 3-year JD. So if you plan to practice in Pakistan or in the UK, then it's a no-brainer. The 3-year LLB makes sense. What I would otherwise consider is the 5-year if you want to have a very solid foundation on Pakistani law.
What was student life like both in your LLB, during your LLB years and now recently in California? What was challenging? What was most exciting? And what shaped you during those years?
At 18, when you graduate from high school, most people will have been in a place of comfort where they've been with the same general group of people for a very long time, and now suddenly you're thrust into this new and unfamiliar space, and it can go really well, it can go really badly as well. So it's a time of having to exercise great adaptability, and the more adaptable you are, the better it tends to go for you. For me, I feel like I got a glimpse of both UK and US university life. Both of them great in their own ways. I kind of lean towards the US in terms of fulfillment. I feel like
the experience overall?
Yes, UK is very academic. America is in every way holistic.
Parents often want to encourage their children to read and write more. You have been doing a lot of both. Based on your experiences, what would you tell kids and young teenagers? How can they do both things without losing interest?
And that's a particularly important thing right now in a time when the attention economy is perhaps in unprecedented levels of human history.
So many distractions.
It's at a decline, yes. When you've got these devices in your phone that are engineered by some of the smartest people in the world to rob you of all of your attention, all of your time.
It's also the parents who are interrupting their kids. Do this, do that, go to this club, go to that club. Hello everyone and welcome to ISOK, In Search of Knowledge. I'm Zahra Hidayatullah and today I have with me Hassan Kamal Wattoo. Hassan is an advocate of the High Courts. He has clerked for the Chief Justice of Pakistan and now works with one of the top law firms of the country. He holds an LLB from SOAS and has recently graduated with an LLM from Berkeley Law School. He's also been mentioned in the New York Times and CNN International. Hi Hassan, very happy to have you here with us today.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Hassan, before we talk about Berkeley and Supreme Court and Dawn and all of those achievements that came later, I want to go right to the beginning. If you had to describe yourself as a student in early years, how would you do that?
In early years, I think a consistent thing was I was always a bit of a rebellious character. I always had unique positions. I like to make my positions known about the things around me, about the world around me. I was not as into sports as probably I should have been. I was the kid who would be reading somewhere in a corner or would be pulling some pranks or joking around with my friends. I was into academics. I got more into it towards my later times there. And it was by the time I came into high school, I think, that I went into some essay writing competition, the earliest I possibly could, and I won it. So I realized, okay, this is something that maybe would work. Maybe this is something I should keep doing. So I did it again, and I won it a few times. So that led me to that combination of strong opinions, a rebellious streak, and a desire for my opinions to be heard, which was an audacious thing for a 17-year-old to have. But I was writing letters to the editor, I think, since I was 16. I think I published my first op-ed around that time, maybe 16, 17 years old.
Really?
That's what I did. And that led me to just see law as a no-brainer kind of career path. Although nobody in my family was a lawyer. My family was involved in other things. But the ability to use the written word and the spoken word as a career and to make money off of it, I thought like, I do this stuff for free. So it made sense as a career too.
Okay. A lot of parents want their kids to start studying and winning competitions really early on. And you mentioned that you started relatively later in life as a student, high school. So do you think it doesn't make a difference?
These are such formative years in your life where you are a child in those years. You don't know quite who you are. You're still coming to terms with your identity, with your personhood, with what you identify yourself as. So I did not know that I was any good at all. I didn't know I was half decent at writing until I went into that essay competition at maybe, this was the beginning of high school, so that's 13 years old, I guess, where I first did that essay writing competition and figured out, okay, maybe this is something. But you have so much room for transformation. You have so much room for growth and discovering yourself. And I don't think if there's any young students watching this, they shouldn't beat themselves up about starting anything later in life. It's never too late to become what you might have been. So you experiment, you try, you fail. I did a bit of everything. I was back in high school involved in a lot of Model United Nations competitions. I did a few parliamentary debates here and there. And that, I think, triggered this joy in public speaking from a very young age. So these things, they don't seem like much when you're doing them, but you look back years later and you think to yourself, what seeds did that plant? What did that pave the way for? And it likely had a great impact. So I'm glad I did it.
Every little bit counts, right?
Yes, especially in years as formative as those, when you have a lot of decisions to make and you don't want to go a long way and find out you went the wrong way. There's branching paths that you can take, and several people who make the incorrect decisions at that age will just go a very long way in the wrong direction. So the idea is that do something that you think is sending you in the right one.
Right. You studied at Aitchison College, which is one of the most competitive schools in the country. How did that environment shape you as a person and as a student?
So Aitchison is a very interesting place. It's a very diverse and a very complex place. Of course, I enjoyed my time. I'm blessed. It was a fantastic place to be.
You represented Aitchison at international MUN conferences and won awards. How did those experiences shape you for law school later?
Yeah, quite a bit, quite heavily, because also, to be honest, these conferences were also an excuse for us to travel the world and explore a bit. So the school would send us off to, I went to two. I went to Yale MUN in Singapore, which we were lucky enough, we won best delegation over there. I was heading the delegation at the time, so that was an on top of the. It wasn't that big of a deal, but at 16 years old,
you feel it is a big deal.
You feel like you're on top of the world.
Right.
All these people from all over the world, and you go up on stage and take that award. We loved it. We were having the time of our lives. It broadened horizons at a time where horizons were very limited. When you're in a very small bubble of those same odd 100, 200 kids who you've been in at the same class batch with for upwards of a decade. So it was good to meet new people and debate with new people in that sense. Then later we went to Harvard MUN in Boston as well. And that was also a fantastic experience. All the things that naturally one learns from traveling and at a young age. And it kind of prepped us for college as well. A lot of the universities that we visited over there, we got an idea of it before we went, which I think was definitely helpful.
So let's talk about academics. And how did you choose your O and A level subjects? What drove you to choose a particular set? And what subjects did you have?
It's been a long time since anyone's asked me that question, but if I recall correctly, it was a mix of like 2 sciences and 2 humanities. Because typically people tell you that you have to go all sciences if you're going medical or something, or if you're becoming a lawyer, you go all humanities. Now, a great piece of advice that I got from several professors when I went to undergraduate, and an advice that I think is true as well, that if you're becoming a lawyer, I don't think you should study law, at least at the A-level stage. I think that you should be studying everything but the law. You should be really diversifying your skill sets, your interests. I think, honestly, what I would recommend, the best subject to take, O-levels, A-levels, both, English literature. I think literature is the thing that in a legal career will really go a long way for you, because the limits of my language are the limits of my world. If you have the depth and the comprehension and the understanding of language, you will think better, you will understand in very translatable ways the work that you will be doing later in life as well. And several senior lawyers have given me this advice as well, to read widely and read unexpectedly, read the kind of books that other people are not reading, or that you wouldn't expect yourself to be reading, because you never know when you're before a judge and the judge's attention is wandering and you remember a specific passage from some completely irrelevant Shakespearean play or something, and that fits in and it seals your argument and you get the judge's attention back, and it helps. Things will always help in ways that are unexpected.
How wonderful to hear a boy talking about reading literature.
I think men should. We're not good enough at it as we should be, but we should talk about it.
At what point did you know that law was going to be your chosen career?
Very early on. From a young age, I had this idea that law is the rule book that governs our society.
Right.
And I care about how my society is governed. I am very fascinated by the machinery by which our society functions. These obscure laws that are impacting our lives on a day-to-day basis. And everybody, whether you're looking or not, whether you're noticing or not. So as a matter of profession and as a matter of interest, if there was anything I wanted to work with on a daily basis, it was that foundational rule book of how my world operates.
So Hassan, would you suggest that students wanting to pursue a career in law should first start studying locally and then move to applying abroad, or?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the difference is a local LLB will be 5 years and an external LLB will be 3 years. So the external program is something that the University of London offers. You can go to the UK and do it for 3 years there, or you can do an external program over here where you're studying, you're giving exams that are administered, as I understand them, similarly to how O and A levels will be. And you sit here in Lahore, you take your classes, you give your exams, and you get your degree. Alternatively, the local degree that you do in Pakistan, which would be a Pakistani law degree, takes 5 years. It's offered by several universities like Punjab University, LUMS, or has a great local Pakistani law program. That extra 2 years is a significant thing. It is not to be taken lightly, because in the profession of law, in my opinion, momentum is everything, and seniority has a great deal of significance. So somebody who graduated 2 years before you will have an exponential edge over you graduating 2 years later. So the third option, now that I think of it, that students watching this might be considering if they're studying law, is, of course, America. America is a big option for a lot of people. They give great scholarships. A lot of very smart kids will get full ride scholarships. The problem there is there's no undergraduate concept of law in the US. So you will have to do a 4-year degree in something else. And then there's a 3-year JD. So that takes your total time before you are even qualified to practice as a lawyer up to about 7 years. So clear difference there. 3 years UK LLB or external, 5 years Pakistani, and then a grand total of 7 in the US. But in the US, you get an undergraduate degree and you get a Juris Doctor, which is a very strong degree and a rare degree. There's a merit to the argument that that rarity gives it a bit of a very rare to encounter any JD graduates in Pakistan. So if you plan to practice in Pakistan or in the UK, then it's a no-brainer. The 3-year LLB makes sense. What I would otherwise consider is the 5-year if you want to have a very solid foundation on Pakistani law. If you're committed to staying here, then the 5-year makes sense as well. Depends on one's priorities.
Okay, so you did a 3-year law program at SOAS,
Correct.
England, and then you took a break and you practiced law. And then you went back to studying law again, and this time to the US. And your master's program was for how long at Berkeley Law School?
It's a year, but typically 10 months around.
Okay, and what are the requirements for a master's program? Do they require you to practice law for a certain number of years?
They don't. So theoretically, you can apply, get in, and go.
Right after your bachelor's.
Right after, but just because you can does not mean that you should.
You should.
I would definitely recommend anyone watching who's considering this to take at least a few years. I'd say at least 3 years. And the reason for that is when you're in your undergraduate, you're in this kind of flow state of I'm studying, I'm a student, I'm in student life. And one more year of that doesn't change things very much. Whereas if you take some time off to work and actually live life as a professional and see, well, this is what the rest of my life looks like. Oh, this is what I'm actually going to be doing. These are the realities of this profession that I've been preparing myself for the last several years to get into. What happens there is you figure out what you like, you figure out what your practice areas are. You develop connections by rising the ranks in your law firm. You get to know senior lawyers. You get to speak to people who make your application stronger. So with that extra time, you'll probably get in you'll get a better offer at a better university, having taken that extra time. And once you get there, you will get a lot more out of it than you would have as an undergraduate.
That's right.
And 100% of the people who I know who did it straight after undergrad said that they wished that they had taken some time. And the ones who had, it was observable that the people who had taken some time were having a better time, were doing better academically, and overall just got a better bang for their buck. So after coming back from my LLB, I spent about 6 months working at one law firm. And I found out that there's this job that you can apply for at the Supreme Court, where if you get in, you work with these super cool judges and you get to work really closely with them and work on some really big things. So, of course, I thought, let me just throw in an application, see what happens. So then a month later, I get a phone call that the Chief Justice of Pakistan wants to interview you. So I go in for that. Somehow.
How did you feel when you got that call?
It was surreal. I wasn't expecting it.
I mean, it's the Chief Justice of Pakistan.
Yes. One of my all-time memories of that time, like one of my top core memories, was when I got to go see the Panama judgment trial in the Supreme Court in Islamabad. That courtroom is just the epicenter. At least
that was your FIFA match.
That was my FIFA World Cup final. Being in that room at the epicenter of my country's politics.
Right.
All of these big ministers and these big politicians and these big journalists around me. And these judges were so eloquent and so articulate. That idea of the grandeur of this court being able to put everyone on one footing, but that footing is beneath the law. Because the judge up there, he represents the law.
Right.
That was just, I was enamored by it. In 2016, when I saw that, I was completely enamored. I loved it. I wanted to do more of that. So that was a big reason that I applied for the Supreme Court job. So I got into that, and I did that for about 3 years, about over 2.5 years at the time. And I had sent in an application for a master's as well. Wasn't planning on going because my boss still had some time until his retirement, and he'd asked me to stick around until he retired. But once I got it, I told him it's a master's and it's a full scholarship, but I'm thinking of deferring it just so I can spend some time here. And he said that you're getting a free trip to California for a year. So if you don't want to take it, give it to me. So at that point I said, well, if you put it that way, that sounds like a great deal. So I went ahead, and I'm glad I made that decision.
What was student life like, both in your LLB, during your LLB years, and now recently in California? What was challenging? What was most exciting? And what shaped you during those years?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like when you're in your undergrad, it's a very peculiar time in your life because at 18, when you graduate from high school, most people will have been in a place of comfort where they've been with the same general group of people for a very long time, and now suddenly you're thrust into this new and unfamiliar space, and it can go really well, it can go really badly as well. So it's a time of it's a time of having to exercise great adaptability, and the more adaptable you are, the better it tends to go for you. For me, I feel like I got a glimpse of both UK and US university life. Both of them great in their own ways. I kind of lean towards the US in terms of in terms of fulfillment, I feel like
The experience overall?
yes, UK is very academic. America is in every way holistic. America cares about you and your experience and your extracurriculars and studying widely, studying a diverse amount of subjects. I loved the academic environment of an American university. UK will be very academic to the point. America will have a great deal of leeway. My master's, for example, had a range of electives that I found totally fascinating. There was a course on how not to think like a lawyer, the business of law.
Wow.
It's like fascinating. Of course, I'm going to take that. Then there was one called Stagecraft. There was one called The Court of Public Opinion, Storytelling for Corporate Lawyers. So these are all law adjacent. But these are not law classes per se.
Right.
They're things that will help you in practical life as a lawyer. But in the UK, I don't think you'd get classes like that. So there's a difference in culture, which makes me recommend the UK LLB for a strong legal foundation. But then an American LLM kind of pushes you to think much wider. And I think that's helpful.
So, Hassan, what made you want to come back both times?
That also is a great question, because both times did present
Opportunities.
and an irrefutable logical position to not come back. Where whenever anybody has asked me, well, in the UK, so I was doing well in my LLB. I was in the Law Society. I was in contact with a bunch of law firms. There's a whole system there where you can do a training contract. You can work for some time with a law firm. They'll pay for you to get your solicitor's license, and then you work with a law firm. I decided not to do that then. And then again in my LLM, now you can do the bar, you can do the New York bar, California bar, you can stick around there. Not a lot of problems. Even in the visas and things, you can typically, if you want to do it, if you put your heart and soul into it, not everybody gets it, but the opportunity is there to work towards it. But again, I chose not to. And the thinking behind that, whenever anyone asks me, I tell them that any logical person would make the opposite decision, but I made the decision to be an illogical lawyer, because I have this, call it a sentimental, call it this romantic attachment to my country, to my family. I know that long term I see myself here. I do not see myself in California or in London long term. Then there's the valid argument some make, that you could practice there for a few years and then come back. To which I answer that every single day, every week, every month that you spend in litigation in Pakistan is momentum that you're missing out in every day, week, and month that you spend over there. And you come here and you realize that this profession is not easy. This profession requires a very thick skin. This profession requires you to, at times, keep your head down and keep powering through. And at times, you just have to take what's coming to you. You have to be very resilient in this profession. You have to be very stoic and able to get through long periods of, in the beginning even, not getting paid very well, if you're getting paid anything at all. So these things take resolve, and the good news.
And there's a lot of hard work involved.
Yes, but the
reading
good news is, it gets better with time. So you keep doing it regardless, that eventually you'll be able to reach some level of success, you'll be able to reach some level of fulfillment as well. So these are all things, alhamdulillah, I feel like I can't complain. The profession has been good to me, and now I'm at a position where I am comfortable, where I'm not in the period of struggle anymore as I was maybe in the first few months. But I've been blessed in that respect.
Okay, so Hassan, what qualities make a young lawyer stand out?
To stand out, by definition, everybody can't be doing one thing to stand out. A lot of people tell me that, I want to start writing because that would help me stand out. I say, well, that's not the only way to do it. You don't have to be in newspapers just to stand out. In my opinion, it's a good way to do it, because it kind of, it's transparent. It puts out into the world how your brain works, so that people can read it and judge for themselves whether this guy's talking sense or not. There are people who have reached immense success in this profession while being complete hermits, while being unknown to anyone outside the profession, by being completely silent about what their opinions are. You would never guess what they're really thinking about something. So for everybody, every single lawyer, there will be a different route. But what I recommend to every single one of them is to play on your strengths. What is your strength in this field? Or if you feel that you can't think of one, then what is the one that you feel most naturally gravitating to. And I feel like leaning into that and going hardcore on that is something that would inevitably lead one to stand out.
How would you recommend that students get over this mindset and, still pursue their goals and do not consider short periods or even long phases of discouragement and go for what they aim to do?
Well, that's the oldest, at least for me, it was the oldest line in the book. It is when you accept and resign to defeatism that defeatism becomes an actuality.
Right.
The name of the game is sticking to your guns in the face of whatever winds are blowing against you.
Right.
So you might think, I am of the opinion, okay, well, I'll avoid my opinions for now, that things are bad right now. Does that mean that I give up? At every moment in Pakistan's history, there have been times when all seemed lost, when everything seemed hopeless, and when things seemed more difficult than they had ever been. But also at every moment in Pakistani history, there were people who pushed through regardless of it. So I want to be among the latter people.
Amazing. Parents often want to encourage their children to read and write more. You have been doing a lot of both. Based on your experiences, what would you tell kids and young teenagers? How can they do both things without losing interest?
And that's a particularly important thing right now in a time when the attention economy is,
of course,
perhaps in unprecedented levels of human history.
So many distractions.
It's at a decline, yes. When you've got these devices in your phone that are engineered by some of the smartest people in the world to rob you of all of your attention, all of your time.
Also, not just the devices, it's also the parents who are interrupting their kids. Do this, do that, go to this club, go to that club.
Absolutely.
Not really understanding what the child wants to do instead, right?
Absolutely.
So what would you say to that?
So at a time when all of those distractions are ever present and just taking away your life by taking away your time. There's an article recently that argued that we are in a post-literacy world. We're going to be in a world where nobody reads at all anymore. But also I see glimmers of hope in some spaces. Like, for example, kids are all over TikTok, right? But TikTok has a vibrant book talk because now kids want to read things that bring them joy, that bring them entertainment. And I say, absolutely.
They want to be part of a community. And if their larger community is discussing that book, whether it's in school or whether it's, on TikTok or wherever.
I'll tell my own story of what really, there's this one book I always quote as the one that changed my perspective of what books could be. And I read it when I was far too young. But it's called A Case of Exploring Mangoes by Muhammad Hanif. When I read Hanif, who wasn't the first Pakistani author I read, but he was the first Pakistani author I read who was brutal in his writing, brutally honest as well. And he goes hard in ways that I did not think were allowed. I was like, is this legal? Is this allowed? Like, you can really be this hilarious and brutal and fun and observational and taking the things that I see on a day-to-day basis and expressing them so beautifully that it made me think, why didn't I think of it that way? And that observation made me think, okay, this is my world. This can be written beautifully. He did it, so maybe I could too. And beyond that, it was just very fun because books are more entertaining than Netflix. They will be more fulfilling than TikTok. They will be more engaging than Instagram Reels. And kids should lean into that because you're really missing out if you're not exploring that world.
So tell me, what impact has your mother had on you as a reader, as a student?
She was very, very involved always. And very, very invested in trying to make us the best version of ourselves. So that's something without which I truly believe. I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be, but her role was indispensable.
So what impact do you hope to make through your law practice here in Pakistan?
I got very lucky in getting a job at a young age where I felt like, okay, now I can do something that matters to me. And that was the Supreme Court job where now, okay, I'm sitting with this big judge who is writing these big, powerful decisions which will shape my country. And I was employed by the Supreme Court, so naturally your job is to assist the judge to the best of your capabilities and make that judgment the best that it can be. So I got to work on some cases that were really close to my heart, which I believe that just one of those cases, and alhamdulillah, there were several, but would justify everything I've put in, all whatever time, money, effort has gone into this profession. Freeing one person who was wrongfully arrested, or preventing one person from suffering a fate worse than death at the hands of the law. That, in my opinion, I feel like my life's work is justified if I've saved one person from that through the letter of the law.
Amazing. So, Hassan, you walked a journey from Lahore to London to Berkeley and back. What do you think during all this time has been the single most important decision you've made so far?
Well, there's several one makes. Picking which university, for me, a big decision as well, could have altered the trajectory of my life, was whether I wanted to study law at undergraduate at all. Because there was a time where I seriously considered studying literature. I ended up deciding not to do that. You don't want to spend tons of money and 4 years of your life and then come back and realize, oops, you need to spend another 3 years.
Yeah.
You don't want to take a risk on something like that when the law isn't very clear. But another major reason was I felt like it was time to get into the thick of it, to take a deep dive into what I want to be my profession. So literature, I love, I am passionate about it. I had a friend who took that course that I was considering, and a lot of the books that they were reading were ones that I was already reading in my spare time. So I felt like, okay, maybe I can console myself that
you haven't
got some
made the wrong
practical experience regardless. But ultimately, I feel like it would have been a consequential decision, but I'm happy with the one I made.
So, wow, you have a really literary bend, and we did not know this. Whose writings do you enjoy more?
Oh, there's a lot. I've been thinking a lot about this recently because Pakistani, of course, Bapsi Sidhwa, Mohsin Hamid, Danial Moinuddin.
Oh, I love Danial Moinuddin's books.
Yes, fantastic one. The Rooms, Other Wonders.
Yes.
Recently, I started reading. I haven't finished it yet, but this is a new author, Dure Aziz Amna, whose new book, A Splintering, seems really nice. I'm really enjoying it so far. Besides that, I've been trying to read because, again, like I live in the same world, in the same attention economy where I too am struggling with, finding time for reading.
Right.
Where there's work, but there's also, in general, there's the distractions of technology.
Right.
So I did this experiment where I thought I'd read a lot of populist fiction as well. I took a deep dive into book talk. I was like, okay, what's going on here? And I read a bunch of books off of TikTok recommendations. Yes. And they were phenomenal. Genuinely phenomenal. Like thriller books.
I need to do this.
Yes, there's thriller books. There's like romance novels in there.
Okay.
There's like sci-fi stuff in there.
Okay.
There's this book called The Silent Patient, which is a thriller. I'm forgetting what his name. Alex something, right? Greek author, Alex, Greek last name.
Yeah.
But that was phenomenal plot twist in that. You'll never see it coming. So there's this book called The Ministry of Time, which I really enjoyed. Sally Rooney is an author.
Of course. Normal People.
I've read except Enter Mezzo.
Conversations
with Friends.
Yes, Conversations with
Beautiful
Friends.
World, Where Are You? Which, interestingly, I found a signed copy of that.
Oh my God.
At the Last Word in Lahore, of all places. Like,
oh my God.
I don't know how it got here.
So shout out to Aisha Raja here.
Shout out, absolutely. But somehow I managed to find a signed Sally Rooney book over here. That, and then I'm a long-time Murakami fan. I love
Oh my God.
Yes, and
I love his writing. Which one is your favorite one?
Norwegian Wood.
Okay, yes.
That is timeless for me because I read it when I was in undergrad, which is what it's all about. It begins with this guy who's in his 450s at an airport, remembering when he was 20. And everything just seemed lit up in fluorescence. And I was reading that at 20 years old.
It's the little observations that Murakami makes that really
absolutely
trigger one's memory and makes his writing relatable to people across the globe, although he's strictly Japanese.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that even through translation, so much beauty is written in those books. And another book talk recommendation I've been reading and thoroughly enjoying recently is The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. So John Green is the guy who wrote Fault in Our Stars. Okay. Yeah, very fun writer.
And easy to read, easy breezy.
And very joyful to read.
Okay.
And he's got this pure love and admiration for the world around him. And the book is just about, literally, the Anthropocene is this, as I understand it, I hope I'm getting this right, this Jurassic era, there's the Cretaceous era, there's eras of Earth history. And the one we are currently living in is the Anthropocene. And he's just taken elements of this entire era and just given 2 to 3 page each chapters reviews, like Google review style. Out of 5 stars, he's rated things that are as diverse as like a man expressing in very short pieces his love for the world around him. And that, I think, if there's any kids watching this who want a very accessible, fun read that will get them back into the momentum of it, I'd recommend that one. That's quite nice.
Okay, so Hassan, if you're speaking directly to teenagers here who are particularly feeling overwhelmed or unsure about the future, what would you say to them?
No feeling is final. Everything will always seem like the end of the world. It's fleeting. Yes, but no feeling is final. There will always be a next worry. There will always be a bigger thing. And also, a lot of people don't mention this enough. I feel like even for young people, taking care of your mental health is a very deliberate thing that they have to do. It's not something that can be brushed under the rug, and oftentimes parents will brush it under the rug. But it's a scientific thing, and one should approach it with deliberation. Things like breathing exercises, mental health. It's not something to be discounted. Like if a kid tells you like, oh, I'm struggling so hard with this, and you say, forget it, move past it, that's not a very good answer. One should deal with those things as they come and be empathetic about them as well. Because somebody who's younger than you are, they might be going through the worst thing that they've ever been through.
That's right.
And there's probably something more going on that perhaps they cannot share. There's always something going on. So we have to be very deliberate about these things and be scientific, logical about them, as opposed to just brushing them under the rug.
So yes, of course. Any future plans and ambitions? What else do you hope to do? You're at one of the top law firms, as I mentioned earlier. What else do you want to do? What is that one target that you hope to achieve one day?
In terms of what one can ambition for, I think my country matters to me, and I would like to matter to my country. I would want to help it in any way I can. It's not all out of the goodness of my heart. I want to succeed. I want to do well. So if I am a lawyer, I would want to be the best lawyer that I can be. If I'm a writer, I would want to be the best writer that I can be. And these are things that, of course, one can't always achieve. You can always try.
So Hassan, thank you for sharing your journey with such honesty and depth and candor. Stories like yours remind us that education is a set of choices, discipline, and opportunities that shape who we become. For all those listening, I hope you found this conversation valuable and insightful and equally informative. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. The handle is @ISOK Podcast. And thank you for listening in.